The diplomatic ship moved through deep space like a white dove in a storm. Hyun-woo stood at the observation window and watched the stars. His hands were steady, but his mind was not calm. For 3 weeks, humanity had waited for this moment. First contact with an alien empire, the chance for peace, friendship, maybe even alliance. But Hyun-woo felt something was wrong. The Kethran message had been cold and direct. Come to Takris Prime, come alone, bring no weapons. These were not the words of friends seeking equals. The ship shuddered as it dropped from faster-than-light travel. Through the window, Takris Prime appeared. A brown planet with 2 moons, and surrounding it hundreds of warships, massive vessels covered in dark armor plates. Weapons bristled from every surface. The Kethran Third Fleet. Hyun-woo had been a soldier before he became a diplomat. He knew military formations when he saw them. This was not a greeting party. This was a war fleet showing its strength. The communication screen flickered to life. A face appeared. Not human. Not anything like human. The Kethran looked like an insect mixed with a nightmare. Multiple eyes. Mandibles that clicked when it spoke. Armor-plated skin that gleamed under harsh lights. This was Supreme Commander Vexithara. Human ambassador. The translator converted the clicking sounds into words. You will dock with Station 7. You will come alone. Your ship will remain where it is. Hyun-woo bowed slightly. I am honored to meet you, Supreme Commander. On behalf of Earth and all human colonies, I bring greetings and hopes for peaceful relations. Vexithara's mandibles clicked rapidly. The translator paused, then spoke. Humans do not understand their position. You will learn. Dock now. The screen went dark. Hyun-woo took a slow breath. Then he called his pilot. Follow their instructions, but keep the engines warm. We might need to leave quickly. The station was huge and cold. Metal corridors stretched in every direction. Kethran warriors stood at attention, their bodies covered in combat armor. They watched Hyun-woo with unblinking eyes as he walked past. He counted at least 50 guards between the docking bay and the meeting chamber. The chamber was circular, with walls covered in strange symbols. Vexithara sat on a raised platform, looking down at where Hyun-woo was directed to stand. Other Kethrans filled the room, all high-ranking officers, judging by their elaborate armor. The Kethran Empire has ruled this region of space for 50,000 years. Vexithara began without greeting or ceremony. We have conquered 2,000 worlds. We have absorbed 300 species into our empire. Our military is unmatched. Our technology is superior to all others. Hyun-woo waited. He knew a threat when he heard one building. Your species appeared in our territory 47 years ago. Vexithara continued. You have spread to 47 star systems. You have built colonies on worlds we designated for future expansion. You have done this without permission, without tribute, without acknowledging Kethran authority. We did not know this space was claimed, Hyun-woo said carefully. No one responded to our survey missions. We found no signs of recent activity on any worlds we settled. If we have caused offense, we can discuss territorial boundaries. Earth seeks only peace and mutual prosperity. The clicking sound that followed might have been laughter. Humans do not bargain with the Kethran Empire. Humans submit to the Kethran Empire. This is the natural order. The strong rule. The weak serve. Vexithara leaned forward. We have analyzed your species. Your ships are slow. Your weapons are primitive. Your military numbers less than 300 vessels. You are no threat to us. You are barely worth the effort of conquest. But the law is clear. All species in Kethran space must submit. I am here to negotiate, Hyun-woo said. His voice stayed calm, though his heart was racing. Surely there is room for discussion. Trade agreements, cultural exchange, defined borders. These things benefit both our peoples. There is nothing to negotiate. Vexithara made a gesture and a holographic display appeared in the center of the room. It showed human space. All 47 colonies marked in blue. These worlds will be transferred to Kethran control. All human populations will be relocated to designated labor colonies. 30% of your species will be assigned to mining operations, 30% to agricultural work, 30% to manufacturing. The remaining 10% will be evaluated for specialized tasks. The words hit Hyun-woo like physical blows. You are demanding we become slaves. We are offering you survival, Vexithara corrected. Resist and we will exterminate your species. Submit and you will live. You will work. You will serve. But you will live. This is more mercy than we show most species who defy us. Hyunwoo felt cold anger building in his chest. He had expected difficult negotiations, perhaps trade disputes or territorial disagreements. But this was naked aggression. This was cruelty. Humanity will never accept slavery, he said quietly. We have fought wars against our own kind to end such practices. We will not bow to alien masters. Then you will die. Vexithara's mandibles clicked sharply. We have studied your history. You fight among yourselves over resources and ideology. You are divided, weak. You have never faced an enemy like the Kethran Empire. You do not understand what true military power means. The hologram changed. It now showed Kethran fleet movements. Hundreds of ships converging on human space. We are giving you a choice only because it is efficient. Conquest wastes resources. Submission preserves them. You have 72 hours to deliver your answer. Surrender all colonies peacefully or we will take them by force. Hyunwoo knew he could not win this argument here, not with words, not surrounded by enemy warriors. I will bring your message to Earth, he said. But I warn you, Supreme Commander, humans are not as weak as you believe. We are not as divided as you think, and we do not surrender easily. 72 hours, Vexthara repeated. After that we begin. We will start with your outer colonies. New Sol will be first. We will broadcast the destruction to all human worlds. Perhaps watching cities burn will convince your leaders to be sensible. The meeting was over. Guards escorted Hyunwoo back to his ship. His mind raced the entire walk. New Sol had 4 million people. Men, women, children, families, friends. The Kethrans spoke of destroying them as casually as discussing the weather. Back on the ship, his pilot looked at his face and knew the news was bad. We are leaving immediately, Hyunwoo said. Maximum speed to Earth. Send a priority message ahead. Code Black. War is coming. As the ship jumped to faster-than-light speed, Hyunwoo sat alone in his cabin. He thought about his daughter on Earth, his grandchildren, his friends scattered across the colonies. 20 billion human lives hung in the balance. The Kethrans thought humanity was weak because they saw our small fleet and primitive technology. They did not understand that humans had survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and nuclear fire. They did not know that we had clawed our way from caves to stars through pure determination. Vexithara was right about one thing. Humanity had never faced an enemy like the Kethran Empire. But the Kethrans had never faced an enemy like humanity either. They were about to learn a hard lesson. Never threaten humans with extinction, because when humans have nothing left to lose, they become the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy. The 72 hours passed like a countdown to doomsday. On Earth, President Taeyang sat in the emergency council chamber with her top advisors. Military commanders, scientists, diplomats. They had all seen the recordings from Hyunwoo's meeting with the Kethrans. Now they had to decide humanity's fate. Admiral Jiho stood at the display table. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had fought in the colony wars 30 years ago. He knew what war cost. Our fleet cannot win a direct battle, he said bluntly. The Kethrans have us outnumbered 10-1. Their weapons are more powerful. Their ships have better shields. If we fight them head-on, we lose. Then we surrender, asked Defense Minister Kwan. We let them enslave us? I did not say that, Jiho replied. I said we cannot win a direct battle. There are other ways to fight. Dr. Ara leaned forward. She was the chief science advisor, a brilliant woman who had designed half of humanity's space technology. The Kethrans are arrogant, she said. They think we are primitive. They expect us to fold immediately. That arrogance is a weakness we can exploit. President Taeyang looked around the table. What are you suggesting? Jiho activated a tactical display. We send a message. Diplomatic, carefully worded. We refuse their demands but offer to negotiate. This buys us time. Meanwhile, we prepare our defenses, not to win but to make them bleed, to show them that conquering humanity costs more than they expected. And when they come anyway, Kwan asked, then we show them what desperate humans can do. Dr. Ara said quietly. The decision was made. Hyunwoo crafted a message that was both firm and diplomatic. It rejected slavery but offered trade and cooperation. It was a message the Kethrans would ignore, but it bought Earth precious hours to prepare. Across human space, the military mobilized. Ships that had been in dock for repairs were rushed back into service. Weapons stockpiles were distributed. Civilian transports were fitted with shields and designated as evacuation vessels. And in secret military labs, Dr. Ara's team worked on something special. The Kethran response came exactly on schedule. Fexthara's face appeared on every human communication channel. Your answer is noted and rejected. The Kethran Third Fleet is now advancing on the colony world of New Sol. We will demonstrate what happens to species that defy us. Watch and learn wisdom. On New Sol, alarms rang across the planet. 4 million colonists scrambled for evacuation ships. There were not enough ships for everyone. Families were torn apart. Children screamed for parents. Elderly people gave up their seats to younger folks. It was chaos and heartbreak. Above the planet, Admiral Jiho waited with the defense fleet. 43 ships, against an enemy armada of 847. He stood on the bridge of his flagship, the battleship Indomitable, and watched the sensors. They are dropping out of faster-than-light travel, his sensor officer reported. Distance 2 million kilometers. Count is 847 enemy vessels confirmed. Jiho felt his stomach tighten. In his 40 years of military service, he had never seen odds this bad. All ships, battle formation Delta. Power up all weapons. Launch all fighters. Today we show these invaders that humans do not surrender easily. The Kethran fleet moved forward like a wall of death. Their massive dreadnoughts led the way, each one larger than 5 human battleships combined. Behind them came cruisers, destroyers, and carrier ships releasing swarms of fighters. The battle began at long range. Kethran plasma lances reached out across the void, beams of superheated energy that could melt through ship armor in seconds. Human ships returned fire with railguns and missiles, but their weapons barely scratched Kethran shields. The first human ship to die was the destroyer Courage. A plasma lance punched through its forward shield, cut through the hull, and ignited the fuel tanks. The explosion was visible from the planet below. 43 became 42. Jiho gritted his teeth as his fleet fell back, fighting a running battle. They were losing ships every minute, but they were following the plan, drawing the Kethrans closer, making them confident, making them careless. 6 hours into the battle, the human fleet was down to 12 ships. The Indomitable had taken heavy damage. Half the crew was dead or wounded, but they had done their job. The Kethran fleet was now spread out, pursuing what they thought were broken remnants. All ships, Jiho broadcast on the command channel. Protocol Razor. Execute now. The 12 surviving human ships did something the Kethrans did not expect. Instead of retreating, they turned and accelerated at maximum speed directly toward the enemy fleet. Not firing, not dodging, just burning straight ahead at full power. Vexthera watched from his command ship and felt confused. Were the humans surrendering? But no, they were not broadcasting surrender signals. They were just charging. It made no sense. Then the human ships reached their targets. Each one positioned itself near a cluster of Kethran vessels, and each one detonated. Dr. Ara's secret project had been simple but devastating. Pack each ship with antimatter charges. Turn each vessel into a massive bomb. The explosions were like small stars being born. Each detonation released energy equivalent to 50 megatons. Shields meant nothing at point-blank range. Armor vaporized. Ships were torn apart. In 15 minutes, 231 Kethran ships ceased to exist. 4 of their massive dreadnoughts were destroyed. Hundreds more ships were damaged. The perfect Kethran formation became a scattered mess of dying vessels and panicked commanders. Vexthara stared at his screens in shock. How? How had these primitives hurt him so badly? His fleet was in chaos. Ships were colliding with debris. Communications were jammed by radiation from the explosions. His officers were screaming for orders. All ships retreat, he finally ordered. Fall back to rally point 7. We need to regroup. On New Sol, people watched from evacuation ships as the Kethran fleet withdrew. They had expected to see their world burn. Instead, they saw the enemy running away. Cheers erupted. People cried with relief and joy, but the victory came at terrible cost. All 12 human ships were destroyed. 14,000 crew members died in those explosions. They had given their lives to save the colony. Heroes everyone, Admiral Jiho had survived. He had transferred to a shuttle before the final attack. Now he floated among the debris field and looked at the wreckage. Human ships. Kethran ships. All mixed together in death. Send a message to Earth, he told his communications officer. New Sol is saved. Enemy fleet has retreated. But this is just the beginning. They will come back. Stronger. Angrier. We need to prepare for the real war. On the Kethran command ship, Vexthara composed his report to the High Command. He had to explain how he lost 200 ships to an inferior enemy. He had to admit that he had underestimated the humans. The response came quickly. Vexthara was demoted. A new commander, Grand Admiral Kreltan, was assigned to finish the job, and this time the Kethrans would bring overwhelming force. 2,000 ships, no mercy, no quarter. The message was clear. The Kethrans had learned their first lesson about humanity. But they had not learned enough. Not yet. 3 months passed. 3 months of hell for humanity. The Kethrans came back with their 5th and 7th fleets, over 2,000 warships. Grand Admiral Kreltan commanded them personally. He was different from Vexthara, cold, calculating. He did not underestimate humans anymore. The outer colonies fell one by one. Each evacuation was a nightmare. On Harmony Station, 200,000 people waited for transport ships that never came. The Kethrans arrived first. Only 50,000 escaped. On New Kyoto, the planetary governor refused to abandon the people who could not evacuate. He died with them when Kethran plasma lances burned the capital city to ash. Captain Bora commanded the frigate Defiant. She was young for a captain, only 32, but she had proven herself brilliant in combat. Her ship was experimental, built for speed and stealth rather than heavy fighting. While larger vessels engaged the enemy directly, Bora ran a different kind of war. Hit and run. That was her specialty. The Defiant would hide in asteroid fields for days, waiting. When Kethran supply ships passed by, she would strike, quick, brutal, then disappear before reinforcements arrived. She destroyed fuel convoys, shot down courier ships, mined jump points with improvised explosives. Every little cut she made slowed the Kethran advance. Her crew loved her. They had been together for 2 years and they trusted her completely. When Bora said jump, they jumped. When she said hide, they hid. They called themselves the Ghost Fleet, though it was just one ship. One small ship against an empire. But they made the empire notice. One night after a successful raid on a Kethran ammunition depot, Bora sat alone in her quarters. She looked at photos of the colonies they had lost. Places she had visited, friends who were now dead or scattered as refugees. The weight of all that loss pressed down on her. Her first officer, Lieutenant Haywan, knocked and entered. "Captain, you should rest. We jump again in 4 hours, I know," Bora said. "But I keep thinking, how long can we keep running? We are winning small battles but losing the war." Haywan sat down. He was older, a veteran who had served under Admiral Jiho years ago. "We keep fighting because that is what humans do. We survive, we adapt, and we never give up. The Kethrans think time is on their side, but every day we hold out. We learn more about them. Every raid reveals their weaknesses. This information will matter." On Earth, Dr. Ara worked around the clock in the research labs. Her team had analyzed wreckage from destroyed Kethran ships. They studied Kethran tactics and technology, and they developed new weapons. The antimatter bombs had worked once, but the Kethrans would not fall for that trick again. Humanity needed something new. She called it the Genesis Initiative, a series of asymmetric weapons designed to exploit specific Kethran weaknesses. The first was a nanomachine swarm. Tiny machines, each smaller than a grain of sand, that could eat through Kethran hull plating. Released in clouds of billions, they would be invisible until it was too late. The second weapon was more psychological. Humanity would hack into Kethran communications and broadcast messages to their soldiers, show them how many of their comrades had died, plant seeds of doubt. The Kethran caste system was rigid. Lower castes obeyed without question. But what if they started asking why they were dying for their leader's pride? President Taiyang approved the Genesis Initiative, but she had concerns. "These weapons cross lines," she said to Dr. Ara. "Nanomachines that consume ships. Psychological warfare that targets enemy morale. Are we becoming like them?" Dr. Ara met her eyes. "We are fighting for survival. The Kethrans want to enslave us. Every weapon we develop we use carefully. We target military forces, not civilians. We give them chances to surrender. But if they keep coming, we will use everything we have. That is not evil. That is survival." Across human space, people rallied despite the losses. Factory workers pulled triple shifts to build weapons and ships. Retired soldiers came back to service, teaching young recruits everything they knew. Scientists shared research openly, speeding up development. Artists created propaganda showing humans standing defiant, reminding everyone what they fought for. A young engineer named Dal, working on a mining station, invented a new shield modulation technique that increased efficiency by 23%. He shared the design with everyone. Within weeks, every human ship had the upgrade. It was not much, but it helped. Every little advantage mattered. Grand Admiral Kreltan studied the reports from his commanders and felt frustrated. Yes, they were winning. Yes, they controlled more territory every week. But the cost was higher than expected. Human raiders destroyed supplies faster than they could be replaced. Every battle, even victories, resulted in damaged ships that needed repairs. And his warriors were starting to hesitate. They knew humans used suicide tactics. They knew any battle might end in antimatter explosions. He called a meeting with his senior officers. "The humans are changing tactics," he said. "They no longer face us in open battle. They hide. They strike from ambush. They target our supply lines. This is not honorable warfare." One of his commanders, a scarred veteran named Thexral, clicked his mandibles in agreement. "They fight like insects. Like cowards. We should burn their worlds from orbit and be done with this. That would destroy the resources we came to claim," Kreltan replied. "The High Command wants these colonies intact. They want the human population as labor. We must conquer, not annihilate. But I am beginning to think the High Command underestimates the cost." Admiral Jiho received word that the first Genesis weapons were ready for deployment. He met with Captain Bora to discuss tactics. "These new weapons give us an advantage," he said. "But they only work if we use them intelligently. The Kethrans learn from their mistakes. We need to hit them hard in places they do not expect, before they develop countermeasures." Bora studied the specifications for the nanomachine swarms. "Beautiful," she said with a grim smile. "Invisible death. The Kethrans will hate this." "They will hate us regardless," Jiho replied. "The question is whether we can make them hate us enough to leave. Or at least negotiate." "Negotiate?" Bora laughed bitterly. "Admiral, they want us as slaves." "There is no negotiation." "There is always negotiation," Jiho said quietly. "When the cost becomes too high, when they realize conquest is not worth the price. That is what we are working toward. Making them bleed until they question whether this war serves them." The plan was set. Captain Bora would deploy the first nanomachine payload at the Battle of Tau Ceti. The Kethrans were massing a fleet there, preparing to push deeper into human territory. It would be the perfect test. As she prepared her ship, Bora recorded a message for her family. She did not know if she would survive the coming battle. The Defiant was fast, but nothing was certain in war. "Mom, Dad," she said to the camera, "if you are watching this, then I did not make it home. I want you to know that I fought for something important. Not just our survival, but our freedom. The right to live as we choose, not as slaves to an empire. Whatever happens, humanity will prevail. Because we are stubborn. Because we refuse to quit. And because when pushed to the edge, humans are the most dangerous species in the galaxy." She ended the recording and prepared for battle. The Kethrans thought they had humanity on the run. They thought the war was almost over. They were about to learn otherwise. The Defiant drifted through the Tau Ceti system like a ghost. All non-essential systems were powered down. The ship was cold and dark. On the bridge, Captain Bora watched her sensors carefully. 300 Kethran warships were gathering near the gas giant. They were preparing for their next push into human territory. "Target locked," her weapons officer whispered. Even whispers felt too loud when hiding from an enemy fleet. Bora studied the tactical display. The Kethran ships were in tight formation. Perfect. "Launch the payload." Silent running. No thrust after release. Let momentum carry it, a small pod ejected from the Defiant. It coasted toward the Kethran fleet at a few meters per second. Too slow for their sensors to notice. Too small to register as a threat. Inside the pod, billions of nanomachines waited. Dr. Ara's first Genesis weapon. It took 4 hours for the pod to reach the fleet. Bora waited patiently. Her crew was silent, watching. When the pod entered the Kethran formation, it released its cargo. The nanomachines spread out in an invisible cloud. Each machine was programmed to find Kethran hull material and start eating. For 6 hours, nothing happened. The Kethran fleet went about its business. Ships refueled. Crews rotated shifts. Officers made plans for the next attack. They had no idea death was spreading through their ranks. Then the first hull breach occurred. A small hole appeared in the side of a cruiser. Air rushed out. The breach expanded rapidly as nanomachines ate through the surrounding metal. Within minutes, the hole was 10 meters wide. The ship decompressed, killing everyone inside. Alarms screamed across the Kethran fleet. More breaches appeared. Hulls weakened and collapsed. Ships broke apart as structural supports dissolved. It was chaos. The Kethrans did not understand what was attacking them. They could not see the enemy. They could not fight back. Grand Admiral Kreltan watched the disaster unfold on his command screen. "What is happening?" he demanded. "Report." "Unknown, Admiral," his sensor officer replied. "Ships are experiencing catastrophic hull failure. No enemy vessels detected. No weapons fire. The damage just appears." In 3 hours, 89 Kethran ships were destroyed or disabled. Kreltan ordered an immediate retreat. The fleet scattered, trying to escape whatever invisible horror was killing them. Only when they moved beyond the range of the nanomachine cloud did the death stop. Bora watched them run and allowed herself a small smile. Message to Admiral Jiho. Genesis Weapon 1 is effective. Enemy fleet retreating. No casualties on our side. But the Kethrans were quick learners. Within 2 weeks, they developed countermeasures. Electromagnetic pulse weapons that fried the nanomachines. Hard radiation flushes that killed anything organic or electronic on the hull. Sealed environment suits for all crew members. The nanomachines would work again, but not as effectively. The war became a technological race. Humanity developed new weapons. The Kethrans developed defenses. Then humanity adapted those weapons. The cycle continued. But each adaptation took time and resources, and time was something the Kethrans were starting to worry about. Hyun Woo, now Director of Special Operations, launched the second phase of humanity's plan. Psychological warfare. Human hackers penetrated Kethran communication networks. It was not easy. Kethran encryption was sophisticated. But humanity had one advantage. Desperation made them creative. They broadcast messages directly to Kethran warriors. Images of destroyed ships. Recordings of dying soldiers calling for help. Statistics showing casualty rates. The messages asked simple questions. Why are you dying? What did humans ever do to you? Is this war worth your life? The Kethran caste system had existed for thousands of years. Warriors obeyed without question. That was their purpose. But doubt was a powerful weapon. Some warriors started asking why. Why were they fighting species that just wanted to be left alone? Why were their leaders so eager to conquer when it cost so many lives? On 14 Kethran ships, mutinies broke out. Lower caste warriors refused orders. Some demanded to negotiate with humans. Others wanted to return home. The Kethran High Command responded with brutal efficiency. Mutineers were executed. Their families were demoted to slave caste. The message was clear. Obey or die, but the damage was done. Morale across the Kethran fleet dropped. Warriors fought, but without the same confidence. They watched for human tricks. They feared invisible weapons. And they started to wonder if this conquest was worth the cost. Dr. Ara unveiled the second Genesis weapon. She called it Prometheus Fire. These were specialized mines that could create miniature stars. When activated, they released temperatures and radiation levels equivalent to a stellar core. Any ship caught in the blast zone would be vaporized instantly. The mines were deployed at Wolf 359, where Admiral Jiho's intelligence indicated the Kethrans would stage their next major attack. Human forces seeded the system with hundreds of mines, each one carefully positioned and camouflaged. The Kethran fleet arrived on schedule, 600 ships ready to crush the small human defense force. Jiho commanded from his rebuilt flagship. His fleet numbered only 70 vessels. They appeared to be making a desperate stand. The Kethrans advanced confidently. They had overwhelming numbers. They had learned to defend against nanomachines. They expected another tough battle, but ultimate victory. What they did not expect was what happened next. Jiho's tactical officer counted down. Enemy fleet entering the minefield. 3, 2, 1, activate. Across the battlefield, Prometheus mines ignited. Small stars bloomed in the darkness of space. The temperature spiked to millions of degrees. Radiation flooded the area. Kethran ships at the center of each blast simply ceased to exist. They did not explode. They did not burn. They vaporized. Matter converted directly to energy. 200 Kethran ships died in the first 30 seconds. 300 more were crippled by radiation damage. Their shields failed. Their systems overloaded. Crews received lethal radiation doses even inside their ships. It was a massacre. Jiho's fleet swooped in to finish the survivors. For once, humanity had the advantage in a straight fight. The remaining Kethran ships tried to flee, but human vessels hunted them down. By the end of the battle, only 50 Kethran ships escaped. The victory at Wolf 359 was humanity's greatest success yet. But it came at a cost. The human fleet lost 20 ships and thousands of crew members. And across human space, resources were running low. Factories struggled to produce enough ships and weapons. Colonies could not grow enough food to feed refugees. Medical supplies were rationed. President Tae Yang addressed the people in a broadcast. Her face showed the strain of months of war. "We are winning battles," she said. "But we must be honest. We are losing the war. Half our colonies are gone. Millions are dead. Our economy is collapsing under the strain. We need help." That is when something unexpected happened. Messages arrived from other alien species. The Valorians, aquatic beings enslaved by the Kethrans for 2,000 years, offered intelligence about Kethran fleet movements. The Thex Collective, silicon-based lifeforms, provided advanced materials technology. Species across the galaxy had watched humanity's resistance, and they were inspired. Hyun-woo became humanity's ambassador to these secret allies. He met with representatives in hidden locations, always moving, always careful. The Kethrans had spies everywhere. But slowly, carefully, an alliance formed. Species who had suffered under Kethran rule saw a chance for freedom. Grand Admiral Kreltan studied casualty reports and felt something he had never experienced before. Doubt. In 6 months of fighting, he had lost over 1,200 ships. Humanity had lost more, but they kept fighting. They kept finding new ways to hurt him, and now intelligence suggested other species were helping them. He called a meeting with the Kethran High Command via subspace communication. "This war is not going as planned," he said bluntly. "The humans are more resilient than anticipated. Our casualties are unacceptable, and we face the possibility of a wider rebellion if other species join them." The High Command was unmoved. "Crush them," ordered the Supreme Leader. "Use whatever force necessary. The Kethran Empire does not negotiate with inferiors. We do not retreat. We do not show weakness. Finish this war, Admiral, or we will find someone who can." Kreltan ended the transmission and sat in silence. He had served the Empire for 60 years. He had conquered 15 species. But humans were different. They did not break. They adapted. They turned weakness into strength, and they made you pay for every inch of ground. For the first time in his long career, Kreltan wondered if this was a war the Kethran Empire could actually lose. The alarm woke everyone on Earth at the same time. A message broadcast to every device, every screen, every communication system. Grand Admiral Kreltan himself appeared, his insect face filling displays across the planet. "People of Earth," the translation echoed. "Your resistance ends now. The Kethran fleet is entering your star system. 400 warships. We will accept your surrender within 24 hours. Refuse and we will burn your world. No more delays. No more tricks. Surrender or die." The transmission ended. For a moment, Earth was silent. Then panic erupted. People ran to evacuation centers. Parents grabbed children. The elderly prepared to die rather than slow down the young. 8 billion people faced the reality that their home might burn. Admiral Jiho stood in the military command center and assessed his forces. 87 ships. That was everything humanity had left. Mars contributed 12 patrol vessels. Luna sent 8 defense corvettes. The asteroid colonies scraped together another 20 small craft. Against 400 Kethran warships, President Tae Yang entered the command center. She looked tired. They all looked tired. Months of war had aged everyone. "Can we win?" she asked simply. Jiho did not lie to her. "No, not in a conventional battle. But we do not need to win. We need to make them leave, and I have a plan." He explained it to her. The Ragnarok Protocol, Dr. Era's final weapon. Humanity had placed gravity wave generators at strategic points throughout the Sol system. When activated in sequence, they would create resonance patterns that would agitate the sun. Not enough to go supernova, but enough to trigger massive solar flares. Flares that would sterilize the inner planets. Kill everything. Humans and Kethrans both. Tae Yang stared at him. "You want to weaponize our own sun?" "That is insane." "Yes," Jiho agreed. "But the Kethrans do not know we are insane. They are rational. They follow rules of warfare that have worked for 50,000 years. They do not understand a species willing to destroy itself rather than submit. That fear, that uncertainty is our weapon. Dr. Ara entered the room. She looked haunted. The system is ready. But you need to understand, if we activate it fully, everyone in the inner system dies. Earth, Mars, Luna, 3 billion people. We will only have time to evacuate a fraction. I know, Taeyang said quietly. But if we surrender, everyone becomes slaves. Is a quick death not better than a lifetime of chains? The Kethran fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system. 400 ships in perfect formation. Krelton commanded from his flagship, the super dreadnought Eternal Dominion. He had waited for this moment. The final battle. The end of human resistance, his sensor officer reported. Human defense fleet detected. Count as 87 vessels. Orbital defense platforms active. Mars and Luna installations preparing to fire. Enemy is taking defensive positions around Earth. Krelton studied the tactical display. Humans were outnumbered nearly 5 to 1. They had no chance. All ships advance. Formation Delta. We will crush their fleet, destroy their orbital defenses, then demand surrender. If they refuse, we begin bombardment. The battle began at long range. Human defense platforms fired first. Railgun rounds and missiles streaked across space. Some hit. Most were intercepted by Kethran point defense. The Kethrans returned fire with plasma lances, beautiful beams of death that cut through the darkness. The first human ship to die was the destroyer Valiant. A plasma lance cut it in half. The crew had no time to evacuate. 87 became 86. Captain Bora commanded a squadron of frigates attacking the Kethran right flank. Her ship, the Defiant, dodged and weaved through enemy fire. She had survived every battle so far through skill and luck. But this battle was different. There was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. This was the end one way or another. Target the flagship, she ordered. All ships follow my lead. We are going to hurt them. Her squadron burned toward the Eternal Dominion. Kethran escorts moved to intercept. Bora's ships fired everything they had. Missiles, railgun rounds. Even their remaining nanomachine payloads. Some weapons got through. The Eternal Dominion's shields flickered under the assault. But the cost was terrible. 3 of Bora's ships were destroyed. 2 more were crippled. The Defiant took a glancing hit from a plasma lance. The port side decompressed. 40 crew members died instantly. The battle raged for 3 days. Humanity fought with desperate courage. Every ship, every weapon, every trick they had learned. They destroyed 47 Kethran vessels, but they lost 63 of their own. The orbital ring around Earth shattered, raining debris into the atmosphere. Mars lost 2 cities to bombardment. Luna's surface was scarred by plasma fire. On the 3rd day, Jiho's fleet was down to 24 ships. The Kethrans had 350 remaining. It was over. But Jiho did not surrender. Instead, he broadcast a message on all frequencies. Grand Admiral Kreltan, I am Admiral Jiho of the United Earth Confederation. I am transmitting the activation codes for the Ragnarok Protocol. Humanity has weaponized our sun. The gravity generators are online. One command from me and we trigger a solar flare that will sterilize this entire system. Your fleet, our planet, everyone dies. On every Kethran ship, officers turn to look at their sensors. The gravity generators were real. The signatures were unmistakable. The humans had actually done it. They had turned their own star into a weapon. You have 20 minutes to withdraw your fleet beyond the system boundary, Jiho continued. After that, I activate the protocol. You can leave with most of your forces intact, or you can stay and die with us. Your choice. Kreltan felt something he had never experienced, fear, not for himself, but for the terrible realization that humans were serious. They would actually do it. They would kill themselves and take the Kethrans with them. This is madness, he transmitted back. You would kill your own people? Destroy your homeworld. For what, pride? Jiho's voice was calm. Not pride. Freedom. We would rather die free than live as slaves. You have 15 minutes. Kreltan turned to his officers. Analysis. Can they do it? His science officer clicked mandibles nervously. Yes, Admiral. The generators are positioned correctly. If they activate the sequence, it would trigger massive solar activity, lethal radiation levels. We would have maybe 10 minutes to escape the system. Maybe. Can we destroy the generators before they activate? Not all of them. They are spread throughout the system, and the humans control them remotely. We could destroy some, but enough would remain functional. Kethran stared at the countdown. 10 minutes remaining. He thought about the High Command's orders. Crush humanity. Show no mercy. But what good were orders if they led to death? He had 350 ships, thousands of warriors. All would die if he called this bluff, if it was a bluff. But what if it was not? Humans had proven they used suicide tactics. They sacrificed ships. They defended lost positions. They did not think like rational beings. They fought like cornered animals. Desperate, dangerous. 5 minutes. Kethran made his decision. All ships withdraw. Maximum speed. Exit the system immediately. His officers stared at him. Admiral? That is an order. We leave now. The Kethran fleet turned and burned for the system edge. They jumped to faster than light speed the moment they reached safe distance. In minutes, they were gone. On Earth, people watched the enemy fleet retreat and could not believe it. They had won. Somehow, impossibly, they had won. Jiho sat down in his command chair and let out a long breath. His hands were shaking. President Taeyang approached him. Would you really have done it? Activated the protocol? Jiho looked at her. I do not know. I am glad we did not have to find out. Dr. Era entered and spoke quietly. The protocol was a bluff. The generators could agitate the sun, but not catastrophically. We could create solar flares, but not the doomsday scenario we described. The Kethrans never called our bluff because they believed we were crazy enough to actually do it. Taeyang stared at her. Then she started laughing. It was not happy laughter. It was the laughter of someone who had stared at death and somehow survived. We bluffed, she said. We bluffed and they believed us. Because we convinced them humans are insane enough to destroy ourselves rather than surrender. Yes, Dr. Era said. And that belief saved us all. The Kethran retreat from Earth changed everything. Word spread across the galaxy. The mighty Kethran Empire, rulers for 50,000 years, had been forced to withdraw by a young species with only a few hundred ships. Impossible, yet true. President Taeyang addressed the surviving human forces. Her broadcast reached every colony, every ship, every remaining outpost. The Kethrans think we will celebrate our survival and wait for them to return. They are wrong. We will not wait. We will not defend. We will attack. We will take this war to them, and we will ensure no other species suffers what we have endured. The decision was controversial. Humanity had barely survived. Their fleet was shattered. Resources were exhausted. Many argued they should rebuild defenses and prepare for the next Kethran attack. But others saw opportunity. The enemy was confused. Off balance. Now was the time to strike. Admiral Jiho, now Supreme Commander of all human forces, planned Operation Retribution. Using intelligence gathered during the war, humanity would strike deep into Kethran space. Target supply depots, shipyards, command centers, not to conquer, but to cripple the Kethran war machine so thoroughly they could never threaten humanity again. But humanity could not do this alone. That is where Hyunwoo came in. He had been secretly communicating with other alien species that had suffered under Kethran rule for centuries or millennia. The Valorians, aquatic beings used as labor slaves. The Thex Collective, forced to mine toxic materials. The Prill, whose worlds had been strip-mined of resources. Hyunwoo met with their representatives on a neutral station. Security was tight. If the Kethrans discovered this meeting, they would all die. He stood before a dozen alien species, all with the same haunted look. The look of people who had endured oppression too long. Humanity has shown that the Kethrans can be defeated. Hyunwoo began. We are small. We are weak by their standards. Yet we drove them back, because we refused to surrender. Because we were willing to pay any price for freedom. That same strength exists in all of you. Together we can end their empire. A Valorian representative spoke, its translated voice bubbling like water. Humans fought for months. We have endured for millennia. What can we do that we have not already tried? You endured separately, Hyunwoo replied. Each species standing alone. But united, sharing intelligence and resources, we become something the Kethrans have never faced. A coalition, an alliance of free peoples fighting for liberation. The meeting lasted for hours. Arguments, debates. Fear and hope mixed together. But in the end, an alliance formed. 13 species joined together. They called it the Coalition for Liberation. Humanity would provide military tactics and weapons technology. The others would provide intelligence, resources, and their own forces. Captain Bora was chosen to lead the first strike team. Her experience with guerrilla tactics made her perfect for deep penetration raids. She commanded what humans called the Ghost Fleet, 12 ships, small and fast, equipped with stealth technology, shared by their new allies. Their first target was the shipyards at Vorkaz. Prime. Intelligence from the Valorians indicated 40 new Kethran warships were under construction there. Destroying them would set back Kethran military production by months. The Ghost Fleet jumped into the Vorkaz system under full stealth. They drifted through space like ghosts, all systems minimal, avoiding detection. Bora studied the tactical display. The shipyard was massive. Orbital platforms the size of cities, dozens of ships in various stages of construction. All ships, she transmitted. Attack pattern Omega. Hit the fusion reactors first. We want those ships to burn before they ever fight. The Ghost Fleet struck from multiple angles simultaneously. Missiles lanced out. Railgun rounds punched through station armor. The Kethrans had not expected an attack this deep in their territory. Their defenses were slow to activate. Bora's ship fired on a nearly completed dreadnought. Her weapons targeted the ship's main reactor. The explosion was spectacular. The dreadnought tore itself apart, the blast damaging 2 nearby vessels. Within 20 minutes, the Ghost Fleet destroyed or crippled 43 ships. Then they vanished back into the darkness before Kethran reinforcements arrived. News of the raid spread quickly. The Kethrans were shocked. How had enemies penetrated so deep? How had they known where to strike? It was impossible. Yet it happened. More raids followed. Human special forces teams infiltrated Kethran logistics hubs. They sabotaged fuel depots, corrupted navigation databases, planted malware in military networks. Each operation was small but precise. Death by 1,000 cuts. Dr. Era developed a 4th Genesis weapon. This one was controversial even among humans. A biological agent that targeted Kethran warrior caste genetics. It would not kill. But infected Kethrans would become violently ill for weeks, unable to fight, unable to work. Completely debilitating. President Tae Yang called an emergency council meeting to discuss its use. "This is a biological weapon," she said. "Humanity banned such weapons centuries ago. Are we now becoming what we fight against?" Dr. Era defended her creation. "It does not kill. It incapacitates. We can deploy it against military targets while avoiding civilian casualties. Compare that to plasma bombing cities. Which is more moral?" Jiho spoke up. "War is never moral. It is survival. The question is not whether this weapon is good. The question is whether using it saves lives overall. If it shortens the war, if it prevents more deaths, then we must consider it." After long debate, Tae Yang authorized limited deployment. Strict rules applied, only military targets, only when civilian casualties could be minimized, and always with the option for Kethran forces to retreat rather than face infection. The weapon was deployed at the Battle of Crick Station, a Kethran garrison world with minimal civilian population. Human forces released the biological agent in atmospheric dispersal patterns. Within days, 70% of the Kethran military garrison was incapacitated. Human and coalition forces captured the planet with minimal casualties on both sides. But the most effective weapon was not military. It was truth. Hyunwoo's information warfare teams hacked into Kethran's civilian networks. They broadcast evidence of the war's cost, images of destroyed fleets, lists of casualties, economic data showing the Empire hemorrhaging resources. More importantly, they broadcast testimonies from liberated slaves, Valorians speaking about 2,000 years of oppression, Thex telling of families separated and worked to death, Prill showing worlds destroyed by Kethran mining operations. The message was clear. The Empire was built on cruelty, and that cruelty served only the ruling caste. Across Kethran space, unrest grew. Lower castes began questioning their leaders. Why were they fighting? What did this war gain them? Young Kethran warriors refused conscription. Riots broke out on industrial worlds. The Empire was fracturing from within. Grand Admiral Kreltan watched his empire crumble and felt helpless. He had lost control. The High Command blamed him for every failure, but they did not understand. This was not a military problem. Humanity had turned the entire galaxy against the Kethrans. They had weaponized the truth. Then came the worst news. A faction within the Kethran military, led by War Master Thexrel, staged a coup. They assassinated half the High Command, including those who advocated for peace negotiations. Thexerol declared himself supreme war leader and vowed total war against humanity and all their allies. Kreltan tried to stop him, but Thexerol had support among the most fanatical warriors, those who would rather die than admit the Empire could be defeated. Kreltan was arrested and imprisoned as a traitor. Thexerol's first order was to assemble every remaining Kethran warship, every reserve vessel, every ship that could still fly. He would lead them personally to the Kethran throne world of Kethra. From there, he would launch one final massive assault on human space, not to conquer, to exterminate. If the Kethran Empire was going to fall, it would take humanity down with it. Jiho received intelligence about Thexerol's plan. The situation had gone from bad to worse. Now they faced a fanatic with nothing to lose. "We have no choice," he told his staff. "We take the war to Kethra. We strike at their homeworld before they can launch this final assault. It is the only way to end this." President Taeyang asked the question everyone feared. "Can we win an assault on their homeworld?" Jiho did not answer immediately. Finally he said, "I do not know. But if we do nothing, Thexerol brings his fleet to us. Better to fight on ground of our choosing. Better to risk everything than wait for annihilation." The coalition assembled its forces. Every ship, every soldier, every weapon they had. It would be the largest battle in galactic history. The final confrontation between the Kethran Empire and the free peoples of the galaxy. Winner take all. The coalition fleet assembled at the edge of Kethran space. 340 ships from 14 different species. Humans contributed 120 vessels, cobbled together from every shipyard and reserve depot. The rest came from their allies. Some were warships. Many were converted civilian vessels armed with whatever weapons could be mounted. Admiral Jiho stood on the bridge of his flagship and looked at the tactical display. Every ship showed green and ready. Ready to die, more likely. But they were here. They had come together. Free peoples united against tyranny. The target was Kethra, the Kethran homeworld. Intelligence reported 600 enemy warships defending it, plus orbital defense platforms and planetary shields. War Master Thexerol commanded from his super dreadnought, the Emperor's Wrath, the largest, most powerful warship ever built. Jiho addressed the fleet on open broadcast. "Today we fight not for revenge, not for conquest. We fight so that no species will ever again suffer what we have endured. The Kethran Empire has ruled through fear for 50,000 years. Today that ends. All ships jump coordinates locked. On my mark. 3, 2, 1, jump." The coalition fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Kethra system. Alarms screamed across every Kethran vessel. This was impossible. An attack on their homeworld? The heart of their empire. Who would dare? War Master Thexerol watched the enemy fleet appear on his screens. So many ships, so many species, all united against the Kethrans. He felt rage like fire in his chest. All ships engage. Show these primitives the price of their arrogance. Destroy them all. The Battle of Kethra began, the largest space battle in recorded history. 600 Kethran warships against 340 coalition vessels. Plasma lances cut across the darkness. Missiles filled space like deadly swarms. Ships exploded, burned, died. Jiho split his fleet into 3 attack groups. Captain Bora led strike teams to disable orbital platforms. Valorian ships, using their unique ability to operate in extreme radiation environments, targeted Kethran communication networks. The main human fleet engaged Thexerol's forces directly. Bora's squadron dove into the planet's defensive perimeter. Plasma fire surrounded them. 2 of her ships were destroyed immediately. But the rest pushed through. They fired nanomachine payloads and electromagnetic pulse weapons at the orbital platforms. One by one, the massive defense stations went dark. "Platform 7 is down," Bora reported, moving to Platform 8. But then her sensors showed something terrifying. The Emperor's Wrath had broken from the main battle. It was coming straight for her squadron. The super dreadnought was enormous, larger than 5 human battleships combined. Its weapons could destroy Bora's entire squadron in minutes. She had to make a choice. Run and let the platform remain active, or stay and complete the mission. "All ships scatter," she ordered. "Defiant will handle this." She did not wait for acknowledgement. She turned her ship toward the Emperor's Wrath and accelerated to maximum speed. Her crew understood immediately. This was a suicide run, but no one objected. They had all volunteered for this mission knowing the risks. Lieutenant Haywan looked at Bora and nodded. "It has been an honor, Captain." "The honor was mine," Bo-Ra replied. Then she opened a channel to Admiral Jiho. "Admiral, this is Defiant. We are engaging the Emperor's wrath. Tell my family I died fighting for something that mattered." Jiho watched his tactical display in horror. "Bo-Ra, abort. That ship will destroy you." "Yes, sir," Bo-Ra replied calmly. "But we will hurt them first. For humanity. For all free species." She cut the transmission. The Defiant charged the super dreadnought like a fighter attacking a fortress. Thexrel laughed when he saw it. One small ship against his flagship? Madness. He ordered his weapons to fire. Plasma lances reached out. Bo-Ra dodged. Her ship twisted and rolled, avoiding some shots. Others hit her shields. Alarms screamed. Hull breaches reported. But she kept accelerating, closer, closer. At 500 meters, Bo-Ra armed every weapon she had, missiles, railguns, and the antimatter core set to overload. "We did good work," she said to her crew. "Be proud." The Defiant fired everything simultaneously, then detonated. The explosion was like a small sun. The Emperor's Wrath's forward shields failed. Armor plates vaporized. The bridge section was torn open. War Master Thexral had just enough time to realize what happened before the vacuum claimed him. The super dreadnought did not explode. But it was crippled, dead in space, no command, no coordination, just a dying hulk. With Thexral dead and their flagship destroyed, the Kethran fleet lost cohesion. Ships fought on, but without central command. The coalition forces pressed their advantage. For 14 hours the battle raged. Ships died by the hundreds. Space around Kethra became a graveyard of metal and frozen bodies. While the space battle continued, something else happened. Hyunwoo activated his final plan. Using captured Kethran communication systems, he broadcast directly to the population below. Truth. Raw and undeniable truth. Images of destroyed fleets. Lists of casualties. Economic data showing the empire collapsing. But most importantly, testimony from liberated lower castes. Kethran speaking about oppression by their own leaders. Warriors questioning why they died for rulers who treated them as expendable. "You are told humans are primitive." Hyunwoo's voice echoed across the planet. "But we defeated your fleets." "You are told your empire is eternal. But it crumbles around you." "You are told you fight for glory, but you fight only to maintain the power of a ruling class that sees you as tools." "The war is over," he continued, "not because we destroyed you, but because you will destroy yourselves if you continue. We offer peace. We offer freedom. Not as conquerors, but as equals. Join the coalition. Help us build a galaxy where all species live free. Or continue fighting for masters who care nothing for your lives. The choice is yours." On Kethra, riots erupted. Workers refused to staff munitions factories. Lower caste warriors laid down weapons. Citizens demanded their leaders surrender. The empire was fracturing from within. The Kethran High Command, what remained of it, watched their civilization collapse. They had two choices: fight to the death and doom their species, or surrender and face the consequences of 50,000 years of tyranny. The acting commander, a moderate named Velkara, made the call. "Attention coalition forces. This is Acting High Commander Velkara of the Kethran Defense Fleet. We request immediate ceasefire. We are prepared to discuss terms of surrender." Jiho received the transmission and felt exhausted relief wash over him. Ceasefire acknowledged. "All coalition forces, hold fire. I repeat, hold fire." The shooting stopped. The silence felt strange after hours of constant weapons fire. Ships floated among debris fields. Both sides had lost half their forces. Hundreds of thousands dead. But it was over. The peace negotiations took weeks. Jiho insisted on terms that would prevent future aggression. Complete disarmament of the Kethran military, beyond defense forces. Reparations to all species harmed by Kethran conquests. Democratic reforms ending the caste system. And war crimes trials for leaders who ordered atrocities. The Kethrans agreed to everything. They had no choice. But more importantly, many Kethrans wanted these changes. Lower castes had suffered under their own system almost as much as conquered species. They welcomed the chance to rebuild their society on principles of equality. The war had lasted 18 months. Humanity lost 4 billion people. 31 colonies were destroyed or abandoned. Most of the fleet was gone. But they had won. Not just survival. They had liberated dozens of species and broken an empire that seemed eternal. 5 years later, the galaxy looked very different. The Galactic Coalition had grown to include 43 species. Humans, Kethrans, Valorians, Theks, and dozens of others worked together, not perfectly. There were still conflicts and disagreements, but they resolved them through diplomacy rather than war. On Luna, a massive memorial listed the names of all who died. 4.2 billion humans and allied casualties. Captain Bora's name was inscribed in gold at the very top. Hero of the Coalition. The woman who sacrificed herself to save billions. Admiral Jiho retired from military service. He became a teacher at the Academy for Interstellar Relations. His students came from every species in the Coalition. He taught them strategy and tactics. But more importantly, he taught them the cost of war and the value of peace. Dr. Ara spent her remaining years developing peaceful applications of Genesis technologies. Terraforming dead worlds, building faster ships, medical breakthroughs. She received countless awards but donated all prize money to help war orphans. We created horrors to survive, she often said. Now we must create wonders to thrive. Hyun Woo became the first Secretary General of the Galactic Coalition. His opening speech was broadcast to 3,000 worlds. The Kethran Empire learned a lesson written in blood, he said. They learned why you never threaten humanity. Not because we are the strongest, not because we are the most advanced, but because we refuse to accept that might makes right. When threatened with extinction, humans do not surrender. We fight, we adapt, we innovate, we inspire others to stand with us, and we refuse to quit until freedom wins. That is the lesson. That is why the empire fell. President Tae Young, in her final address before retirement, spoke to the next generation.